Welcome to Module 2 of the Certificate 4 of Project Management course. Module 2. This is an overview of project planning and control. Projects which are well planned and are carefully monitored are more likely to receive constructive feedback from all stakeholders during the execution and closure phases. These projects will have a much better chance of success. In this module, we will discuss the underlying issues affecting planning and control of projects, the measures which can be applied to address these problems and difficulties, and the responsibilities that are expected of the project team leader when monitoring and controlling the project. The reasons for change are many and varied. One reason, however, is common to all projects. This is the fact that issues and uncertainties, usually captured during the planning phase as risks, constraints or assumptions, will, over the course of the project, be clarified or themselves raise further issues and uncertainties. Some changes can also be the result of organizational or business changes. These changes may arise as a result of changes to government legislation, competitive pressures, etc. The impact of these changes may be large enough to warrant a rethink of the entire project. The most important thing about change is that it must be managed. It is important that a well-documented and approved change control process is incorporated into every project. We will discuss this in detail in Module 3. Changes must also be clearly documented and communicated to all stakeholders. Typical ways of doing this is through project updates, both written and via meetings, as well as ensuring that changes are incorporated into project control documents such as schedules, budgets, risk registers, etc. Too many changes are not good for a project, as they can result in rework, confusion, and poor morale of team members who are continually asked to change direction. Too many changes can also lead to dramatic budget and schedule overruns and can result in the project being cancelled. The most common reason for a large number of changes on any project is poor planning. Unfortunately, there is a reluctance for many managers to properly plan for all contingencies and risks. This reluctance to plan a project can come from management or even the project manager. The major reasons for this are, firstly, planning is time-consuming. Unfortunately, some people see this as time wasted, not time invested. The cost of planning is relatively cheap compared to the cost of rectifying problems later on in the project. Of course, there must be a balance between the time spent planning and the time spent doing. The benefit of good planning is a smoother running project, resulting in more motivated and productive team and happier stakeholders. Secondly, planning is not easy and requires commitment. The activity of planning must be disciplined to ensure that every aspect is measured and prepared, to ensure that both the desired outcome is both understood and able to be achieved. By approaching the planning process in logical steps, it is not as daunting as it first appears. Thirdly, many people resent discipline. Planning encourages accountability. Whilst this may not suit some personalities, it is absolutely necessary if business outcomes are to be achieved. Of course, it is pointless having a plan if it is put in a desk drawer and ignored once projects get underway. The project plan is the roadmap for the project, and its purpose is as a management aid. Therefore, maintenance of the plan is absolutely necessary and should be planned for in terms of time, budget, and resources. Lastly, fear of planning. This can result from the fear of accountability and decision making. It may result from lack of confidence in the ability to undertake such an exercise. Planning is a formal process. The techniques of project planning will be a large portion of the content of this course and will give you the confidence to plan projects using tried and tested techniques that are consistent throughout the project management profession. Planning, of course, makes sense for many reasons. It enables the objectives of the project to be clarified, understood, and approved. This is particularly important as objectives are aligned to project success. Unless the objectives are clearly articulated and the project planned around them, it will be difficult to know how to measure whether they were achieved at the end of the project and, of course, whether the project was successful. An effective plan will detail all the commitments required to achieve the desired outcomes. Commitments cover all aspects of the project, from the allocation of budget to agreements to supply resources to work on the project. It also documents the roles and responsibilities of all key project stakeholders and is a formal agreement with the stakeholders with regard to their role in supporting or contributing to the project. A project cannot operate without resources. The most important resources are people, but resources also include equipment and material. Resources must be available at the right time and also must be paid for. Planning is required to ensure that all this happens in an orderly manner. A good project plan will explore all the options available to achieve the desired outcomes. Using what-if scenarios will provide a range of solutions to risks or various possible business or technical solutions for incorporation in the project plan. Thinking ahead will help avoid a lot of problems later on in the project. An effective plan will detail all the essential criteria for control of the project. Examples of controls are communications processes, quality, schedule, and budget. Once these are specified, there is a clear baseline against which to measure the progress of the project. A good plan is also the basis for delegating activities and responsibilities to others. The entire team will then be able to work to a common understanding of what the project needs to achieve and specifically how this will be done. Project scheduling is an art. It is important to be realistic. Some projects have enforced end dates for various reasons. Even in this situation, it is important to create a schedule that is able to be achieved. Techniques such as doing activities in parallel or assigning more resources may suit some situations. Sometimes the only option is to reduce scope by removing some work which is not as critical to the overall outcome. A realistic project plan should always take into account unknowns by adding in extra contingency for time and cost. The level of contingency required for a project is proportional to the level of risk. Have we done this before? Are we using leading-edge technology? Or are there risks which could cost us a lot of time and money to mitigate? These are things we need to consider when we're determining contingency levels. We'll discuss contingency in more detail in later modules. Estimating is something we learn from experience. It is therefore important to include subject matter experts in the planning phase, as well as applying the techniques you will learn in Module 4. Estimates must be based on reality and also must be at the correct level of granularity in order to be able to be controlled as the project progresses. Another very important element of planning is planning for procurement. Projects should have detailed agreements or contracts with vendors which detail their accountabilities and reporting requirements so that the project manager can control their progress and deliverables throughout the project. Failure to do this can lead to problems which can put the entire project in jeopardy. The project management plan. This is the key output from the planning phase. The project management plan is made up of 8 key sections which are aligned with the 8 knowledge areas listed in the slides. The production of the project management plan, or PMP, is the responsibility of the project manager and is an integration function. As a team member, you may be asked to contribute to this. The size and complexity of the PMP should be proportional to the size and complexity of the project. Producing a 100-page PMP for a small 2-month project would be a waste of time and effort, but may be appropriate for a large, complex, multi-million-dollar project with a duration of 2 or 3 years. The project management plan is normally constructed in a standardized way. This slide illustrates the structure of the PMP. The main document, shown in purple, contains a description of how the project will be managed for every knowledge area. The subplans, shown in blue, are the baseline plans against which the project will be monitored and controlled. These initial plans are normally placed in appendices at the end of the PMP. You will be producing these subplans as part of your course activities. You will also need to develop the entire PMP for your post-course workplace assignment. Your student kit contains all the templates you will require to create a full PMP. Reporting progress. Finally, control of the project is only possible if timely and accurate information is received by the project manager and other team members. Such information will be gathered and disseminated through written reports and formal and informal meetings. It is important that project team members understand their responsibilities in this regard. Reporting may include status reports or meeting minutes, expenditure reports, schedule progress, or updates related to planned changes. This reporting will enable the project manager to provide consolidated progress reports to the project sponsor and key stakeholders. All reporting responsibilities must be documented in the communications plan for the project. This ends Module 2, Project Planning and Control. There are no formal assignments for this module. Please read Module 2 of your UNEP textbook and then progress to Module 3.